Hello, YouTube. We are back for the attack on the Thrilling Comics. I have a few tools laid out on my workbench, and I want to say that all of these tools I used for the tape removal were done. It was a lot of work, but I am happy with the results. This is all the tape that came off of the cover, front and back of the front and the back. It had tape. So there was a lot of tape on. Let's take a closer look so you see really the large amount of tape that was on it. So as you can see, there was a tremendous amount. And I am pretty happy with the results. There was some color lift in various parts of the cover. And as you can see, you see a little red slithers here and there. But I'm not going to give up because I'm going to try to take off the colors, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. But what I want to say is I apologize because I know I have episode 1 or part 1 and part 2. This is part 3 in relation to the tape removal. I did a whole segment of the cover, and much to my chagrin, that it wasn't recording. And I thought the camera was on, so sorry. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the tape that I took off. I'm going to show you the cover. And then we're going to go to the segment that I have, and then we're going to go to a time lapse showing all of the tape removal that I didn't previously show. So check it out. Please stay to the end and watch it. It's pretty good. So as you can see, a lot of tape was removed. And in my opinion, this tape that was on the book is not a good thing, and it had to come off because ultimately it would have destroyed the book in the long run. And I used heat, and then I also used chemicals. And when I use the chemicals, I use a combination of Bestine and xylene. I like to mix Bestine at about 70%, and then I like to use xylene at 30%. And we mix it, and as you'll see in the time lapse, I wet the whole cover, and I continuously wet it, and the tape hopefully will come off using the various tools. But there is always some sort of color loss, in my opinion. So let's take a look at the cover now. And as you will see, it came out, in my opinion, very nicely. So this is the front, and then this is the back cover. And as you can see, there is a tremendous amount of staining, excuse my clock, that occurred from the tape. So this is something that we're going to address, and we're going to try to remove that staining. But I'm pretty happy with the results. This cover is completely tape-free. It doesn't have any tackiness at all. And we're in good shape, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the back of the cover. There is the back of the back, and then here is the back of the front. So there was a tremendous amount of tape, as I already mentioned. It is all missing now. The tape is removed. But as I say, when I do tape removal, if there is going to be any type of color loss, it always happens in the cover. I don't know why, but that is what happens. And this is the color loss that I'm unhappy with, this one strip right here. There were actually 3 layers of tape wrapped around. The bottom layer is what caused this little strip of color loss. So let's take a little closer look so you can get a better feel of the color loss that happened as a result of the tape removal. So as you can see, there's one slight strip of color loss right here. And what I am going to try to do is I am going to try to replace the little strip because I still have it. And I still have it on this one strip of tape. As you can see, we were good right to the end. All of the graphics from this little strip to the right were saved, but just when we got to the end, it was lifted, and I think it was already lifted, or maybe it was just the luck of the draw. So how am I going to try to fix this, and how am I going to try to reinsert this little slither of color? So what I'll do is basically before we finish the leaf casting, I will basically remove this little slither of color, and we will, when the cover is actually after I leaf cast it, I will try to reapply it with using wheat paste or methyl cellulose. But before we do that, I'm going to have to try to soak this in the xylene and bestine solution, and I'll use a razor blade slowly peeling it up, and hopefully it will work. This is another issue, a little area right here that color lift came up, which I have it as well. We'll try to replace that. And then this little area below the plane came up, and we'll try to replace it as well. So you can take your time and you can really try to do the best, but there's no guarantee in removing tape that some color will come up, but it's a cost-benefit analysis in my opinion. And I would rather have small amounts of color touch. Take that back, color touch, Jerry. What are you, drunk? I would rather have small amounts of color lift than having all of the tape. Because if this book was going to last for the future to come, we would have an issue. This paper would deteriorate, and it just would not last with the tape on it. So, what is the next step? The next step in this book is going to be dry cleaning. I'm going to dry clean the cover and the back cover. And then after the dry cleaning, we're going to do an aqueous bath. And I'm going to try to concentrate on these stains to try to lift them a little bit. I may use chloramine T, and then we're going to do a deacidification with calcium hydroxide and a sizing with methyl cellulose. But the next step, as I said, is going to be dealing with the dry cleaning, because I honestly think that we can clean up the whites a little bit before we do the aqueous bath. I'll go over it with my eraser crumbs, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it shortly in the next upload. But that is the game plan. So thank you for watching. Tell me what you think. The question is it a cost-benefit analysis with a small amount of color loss or leaving the tape? I am the team, get rid of the tape, because it's going to present a lot better without the tape, even though there is a small amount of color loss, which I have a very strong belief that I'll be able to place this back after I'm done cleaning it. So stay tuned. Watch the rest of the upload, please. We have a small segment of me removing the tape in the area of the plane, and then we have a time lapse with me removing the tape in the whole back cover, on the whole back cover, and the rest of the cover where tape may have been. So thank you and enjoy. Okay, guys, we're back, and we want to try to remove this piece. Now, this is the only tape that was existing when I got the book. So a prior owner removed the little tape, and you can't do anything about it. If graphics come up, you do your best. For some reason, this tape that was put on, the actual edges of the tape were very strong for some reason. They were adhered very strongly. So right there, I'm just taking my sponge brush and I'm putting the solution of xylene and of Bestine. And we're gonna try to remove this without removing any of the graphics. So right there, you see I got it lifted and it is working. And to be candid, sometimes areas work better than others. And we really, or at least I want to try to preserve as much graphics in relation to this plane. So I'm slowly going back and forth, rocking it. The solution is there. The xylene and the Bestine mix. So let's put a little bit more. Now we don't have to be that aggressive with using the sponge brush, but instead I'm going to use just a regular brush to get the solution in there. And hopefully that will be enough. And then if I'm able to remove this piece, it's going to be a win. We have to battle each piece at a time. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So right here we have this removed. Let's rock it, let's get it in there, let's try to penetrate it. And I see some graphics are lifting. And there you go. And unfortunately, a little of the graphics were removed. As you can see, a small portion right here, but we'll try to save them in the future. So what are we going to do now? What we're going to do now is, let me see if I can focus on another section. And right there, there's tape. And let's see if we can maybe remove that. And I put all my pieces of tape. I have a bowl off to the side. And let's see if we can get this piece of tape right here. And maybe we can be lucky and that can be removed. I'll use my sponge. Let's put a little of the xylene and Bestine right where it is. And I have it on a piece of glass. And we'll let it penetrate. And then hopefully we'll be able to remove that as well. And I know I said I was going to move the time lapse, but let's see if we can get this guy loosened. So there it is. I got it under the T. And let's see if I can rock it. And I see a piece already lifting up of the T. And I really want to try to save it. But maybe if we go from behind, and there we lifted it up and a small part of the graphics lifted. Let's try this. Let's rock it. I really would like to save. The 10-cent portion of the book. Let's put a little bit more of the chemical. Just like that. See, the chemical is still absorbed in the sponge. And let's do our best to loosen this tape up. And when you work with tape, and tape, especially on old comics and old ancient tape, it's a cost-benefit analysis. What does that mean? Okay, right there, you see I was able to save the tape on the 10 section. So what are you talking about, cost-benefit analysis? Well, what it means is that you're going to lose some graphics from time to time, and it's unfortunate. So let's put a little bit more. And right now I have this on my glass, a piece of glass, and look, that's penetrating underneath, it's penetrating all over. And even with the chemicals, and I've been soaking this for quite some time, you're gonna lose an area of graphics. And I know I keep on saying that, but it is what it is. So right here, I'm gonna put this, that is a piece of parchment paper, because I don't want the actual tape to reapply. And you guys might be saying, like, are you nuts doing this? This is a lot of work. But no, I really enjoy doing it, and I want to try to do my best job for Mike. And right there you have a piece coming up. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to actually let this sit with the parchment paper. We're gonna put the parchment paper there so that doesn't reattach. And then I'm gonna continue soaking this with the chemical, just like this. And we're gonna fight like Doc Strange for this little piece of tape right here. So I'm gonna continue dousing it. I'm gonna do it over a long period of time, and then hopefully I can get that piece of tape off without further damage. I'll do my best. So listen, what we're gonna do now is from this point forward, it's going to be time-lapse, guys. So I appreciate you watching, and I'm gonna remove every part of this book via time-lapse, so stay tuned.